Hello everyone, it's Shane Kanto, your Wasteland reviewer, and I'm here to review Dark Harvest, a new horror film from director David Slade, who previously did Black Mirror Bandersnatch. You had 30 Days of Night and Hard Candy back in 2005. And this particular film is based off of a beloved story by Norman Partridge about a small town being terrorized by a disturbing creature called October Boy that comes around and mutilates every Halloween. And there's this contest where the young men of the town compete, and if they can win this contest, they can get their family a nice, wonderful prize at their expense. And this film has a lot of, I really like the mythology that goes into this. There's some really dark, twisted kind of backstory to how this whole entire ceremony, this competition came about. And I think that the script does a good job of really fully realizing that mythology and also having some impactful revelations about exactly how this whole entire situation keeps perpetuating. And it's very messed up. There's some big reveals towards the end of this film where you're just like, oh my god. And how this film, not to get ahead of myself, but as you get to the end of the film, a lot of horror films, either you have a good, feel-good, relieving ending, the evil's all over, or they just keep setting up for more. This film does an interesting balancing act between having some satisfying elements and also some subversive kind of, oh crap, there's more to come. And the ending got me. I'm just like, yes, that works. And it was refreshing because a lot of horror movies get to the end and you're like, oh my god, and you just roll your eyes because they're like, well, sequel baiting. But this particular film, I enjoyed the setting. It's this very retro, old school kind of small western town. And you have this young man played by Casey Likes, who's Richie, whose brother competed and won this competition, got his family a nice living arrangement, and his parents, Jeremy Davies and Elizabeth Razor, bring some really strong performances as they carry this kind of weight to what happened to their other son. Luke Kirby, who I'm a big fan of from different things, especially Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, he comes in here and he is just a straight up despicable sheriff character in town, officer in town. You have Ezra Buzzington, who's this mysterious, creepy farmer. You do, this film does fall into some pretty familiar tropes in terms of coming of age, bullying and stuff like that, and Richie doesn't fit in. And then you have Amiri Crutchfield, who plays Kelly, who's this young black woman, and her trying to navigate, the racism of this town and her being a woman and wanting to step up. But when this really gets down to the horror, I think Slade goes a little too hard with some of his directing choices, and some of the choices in terms of how things are visualized are a little too aggressive and shaky and doing a little too much. But when you have October Boy attack, the practical effects and just the grotesque nature of the gore that happens in this movie, you're just like, oh, okay. And it really hits. And this whole experience is a pretty crazy experience. I think it works on a horror level. It has some interesting commentary on small Midwestern America, that idea of this idyllic Americana, and the racism that especially permeates in these smaller type areas and these very homogenized areas, the other sticking out. And then obviously this crazy elaborate system that's going on in terms of this blood sport basically that happens every Halloween. I'm really interested to read the book, but I think this is a really good adaptation and really does deliver, especially on that grotesque and unnerving kind of horror. But those are my thoughts on Dark Harvest. Let me know what you think and let's talk some movies. But thank you as always for tuning in and supporting your Wasteland reviewer.